Hello, Miss Peaches.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Well, hello here.
Hey. Uh.
What are you doing?
I am talking to you. I was sleeping, but I'm glad you called.
See, that's what I wanted to avoid. I'm sorry I woke you up.
Oh, it's alright. I'd rather have a familiar voice than sleep at this point. Somebody who says they love me and then doesn't treat me like shit.
I don't like treating people like shit, because then it makes me feel like shit.
Right? See, that's how I am. I hate doing this. I hated exposing Natalie. I really did. I hated using the information I know about her. I hated all of that. I wish the cops would have just done their fucking jobs back in 2016. Oh, I feel like roasted fucking toast.
I don't know how that goes. Maybe not to the extent that you do, but holy fuck. I've been like working ragged, you know?
I do.
Come home and take care of the boys and I go to work and I don't get shit for sleepwalking and all. Even on my days off, I'm like up all night and everyone's like, why do you gotta be up all night? It's like I'm used to being up all night. And I can't do anything because it's nighttime and they can call the cops.
Right?
Luckily enough, the cops have not been called because I do loud shit sometimes. Like the other day, like not yesterday going into today, but the day before yesterday going into yesterday, I just started vacuuming and then I was like, oh shit. It's like I can't do that now.
Yeah.
It was like driving me up a fucking wall. We have neighbors downstairs now. And not only are they nosy, they're fucking rude. Like, fucking one of the guys comes up and he's like, your son is making a lot of noise. I'm like, yeah, he's a child. That's what children do. Call the fucking cops. Because it's the middle of the day. There's no noise ordinance in the middle of the day. You know? So, you remember, back when I was living in Westminster?
Do I remember what?
One of my neighbors, after Sisto and Victor moved out from the top, this old lady moved in. And she wasn't really that old. She was like in her 50s, 60s maybe. Late 50s, early 60s. Perhaps younger or older, but that's what I perceived her to be. And she had like a shit ton of dogs. And she would like come downstairs and complain when the baby was crying. Or she'd come downstairs and complain when Mooses was laughing too loud. I'm like, fucking really? These are children. Children make noises, woman. You know? I don't know what the fuck to tell you. You're living in an apartment complex made of chicken wire and fucking paper mache. So, you know, is it really my fault that my children are being human, or is it your fault that you fucking picked a shit place to live? Well, anyway, she had the audacity to call the cops on me because this was throwing a temper tantrum. I invited the cops into my house. I asked them if they wanted something to drink because I had a pot of tea on anyway. And I was explaining to them that yes, my child throws temper tantrums, just like any other child on earth. You know, it happens. I can't control that. No mother can control that. You know, not by legal means anyway. You know? Well, anyway, the cops left and they were super nice and no need for social services to get involved in whatever. But she had dogs. So I would like blow a dog whistle in the middle of the night and then call the cops when her dogs are being too loud.
Right?
And I get it, that's petty, but at the same time, she wasn't much better. So if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander.
It's called fair and equal.
Holy shit, the robot's talking. What?
Sorry, I was eating a
Oh,
piece of string cheese. I said it's called fair and equal. That's what folks don't get. They want to judge you, but not by the same measure they judge themselves.
yeah. Me and Kayla are going through problems here and there because she wants me to be okay with shit that she would not be okay with, you know?
I do. I've taken a paraphernalia charge of. Well, it wasn't her paraphernalia charge. It was Junior's,
Fucking Junior.
right?
That fucking guy. Oh, I
Yeah.
don't know. He was living in Longmont for the longest time, and then he said he was going to go move to Fort Collins. But when he was living in Longmont, he kept like calling me in the middle of the night asking me for rides, and it's like, dude, I'm at work. I can't fucking help you. I'm at work. You know?
Right?
Oh my god, that's so creepy. Sean,
Yeah.
okay, we have these robots. Did I tell you about the robots?
No.
We have robots here at my new site where I'm at, and they fucking creep me out. They're like Daleks, you know?
Oh, yeah, you did tell me that.
Yeah. Well, sometimes they interact, you know? And if they sense that somebody is there, they'll turn green, and they'll wait for the person to pass before they continue with their shit, you know? But that's only if they sense a person within close proximity. This thing just turned green and said good day to you, and then went around something that I couldn't fucking see. Like, what the fuck? Don't laugh. I'm scared. Shit scares the shit out of me. So, like, whenever the robots are around, I always make a point to be like, I'd be an excellent specimen for the human zoo, just in case it hears me. It decides to take over the world. It'll spare me for the human zoo.
You know what's funny? Is that you have fun with it. You interact with it and you enjoy it, right? There's this group called Targeted Individuals that I'm a part of. I just can't bring myself to drop myself from this group. Some of those Natalie Bollinger loops, wingnuts, invited me to this group. And they're not bad people, but most of the people in that group, they're schizophrenics, right? So they think that all birds are robots.
Wait, say that last part again?
They think that all birds are robots. They don't think there's any such birds, and they keep posting up like diagrams of how the camera fits in the bird and which parts are the camera and which parts the battery. And it's
Well,
funny.
how does that explain all the birds that Chancho's killed? If all birds are robots, why in the fuck are there entrails with my cat? You know, like, Chancho used to bring home a lot of random shit. Same
Right?
with, like, Baby Kitty. You know, like, they brought home bunnies, they brought home fucking squirrels, birds, snakes. You know, and I think that if any of these were mechanical in nature, I would have found some form of evidence aside from blood and guts all over the fucking place.
Right? We're a work robot that you guys have at your work. Those actually exist. That's not some crazy friggin' hallucinogenic friggin' crap brought on by, hey, mushrooms are legal in Colorado now.
As if we don't have enough of a fucking influx of jackasses who want to exploit our fucking voting system. Say where the fuck you want and vote for it over there. Don't be bringing your bullshit here. And then they're fucking voting here, and that's fucking up what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I spent a lot of years trying to clean up Boulder, and I was gone for just a few months to get my teeth fixed, and I came back and everything had changed. All the places that I used to pick up trash, nobody was there to pick up the trash. So they all got signs there now saying, no trespassing, you can't sit here. And then I go by and I notice that all the little fucking shitheads that were throwing garbage down that I used to pick up, they're all still there. Just the homos are not allowed to be there. What?
Yeah. No, I was talking.
There's actually a lot of stuff that you got to deal with that I don't. So I'm glad when you call. Like, I don't have kids. Most of the shit I was able to do to help, I was able to do because I don't have kids.
Speaking of which,
Plus, I don't have to run myself ragged anymore. Like, I really do, but I can't.
I'm glad to hear that you're starting to take care of yourself.
I've been
You run
trying to
yourself
take care
ragged
of
all the
myself.
fucking time, and I think that hinders your ability to think clearly.
God, it
And I think it hinders your judgmental skills as well.
Oh, my judgmental skills are still fucked. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I was fucking paranoid about and fucking 100% right on about. But yeah, with all of what people don't get is it's the mass quantity of everything all at once. Like when I've got 6 people texting me at once, I have fucking panic attacks about texting one person. So when I got 6 of them texting me at once, it drives me nuts.
You need a personal assistant.
Well, see, I don't really need to deal with that issue anymore because, like, all right, way back when Natalie first disappeared and I was trying to find a safe place and the cops kept separating me from, well, everybody. Um, like Alana and Amanda and Karamia and like 6 people in that group, and they all got pissed off because I said, fucking, I can't handle 10,000 people texting me all at once. They're like, well, there aren't 10,000 of us, there's only 6. I'm like, fuck, still, 6 people at once is too much. Plus, each one of you
might as
wants
well
an
be 1,000
individual
at that point.
explanation. Do what?
It might as well be 1,000 at that point.
Right? And I wasn't trying to be a jackass to them. Like, all right, when I'm being a jackass to somebody, is it difficult to tell?
No.
Right? So there's a
You're
lot
not
of
very
people.
subtle.
There's a lot of people who got pissed off at me and didn't want to talk to me over shit that they took wrong because they thought I was trying to be a jackass. And I'm like, no, if I'm being a jackass, I will remove all doubt.
Right? There will be no question about it.
Like David and Betsy
She just
Powell.
said good day to you again.
Do what? Your fucking robot is talking to me?
Fucking robots are talking. They're not talking to me, Sean. They're not looking at me. They're not even anywhere near me. I could just hear them out in the parking lot talking to God knows what. Going around shit that's not even fucking there.
Maybe it found a rock that's too big for the tire.
No, they don't have sensors like that. They just plow over it, or they just sit there trying to go over it. They're kind of retarded. Like you've seen Invader Zim, right?
You mean Gurr?
Yes, these are like but they don't have like a serious combat phase where they're all intelligent. They're just a constant like, I like pancakes. It's taco time. I like this drinking. You know, like they're retarded, like constantly. But that's still really creepy, dude. You know, because like even human tards have like superhuman strength. They're like fucking gorillas, dude.
Yeah, Eric always used to make fun of me for having retard strength. Whenever he told his friends that came over, he's like, alright, now don't piss Sean off, he's got retard strength.
Well, it's true. If you got strength, you got strength. It doesn't matter what the source of it is. You know, it's still pretty impressive, and I think if that's the case, because a buddy of mine had a girlfriend whose daughter was like 12 or 13 and would have like episodes, like autistic episodes, and he was saying that she had retard strength. That he was like a grown fucking man, trained in hand-to-hand combat, having to like struggle cuddle with this girl. I was like, holy shit. I was like, that's fucking impressive. You know, like that's something to be proud of if you have that kind of strength. And I think they're not nurtured enough to be able to hone in on that kind of shit, you know?
It's fear. I have to be afraid to be super strong like that.
I don't think you should have to be afraid to be super strong like that. I think people should be afraid to be fucking rude to you. People should be afraid to treat you fucked up. You know? You shouldn't, well, yeah, to an extent, you should definitely, be conscious of it and, be wary when it comes to, like, handling and treating other people,
I
It's
am.
definitely not something that you want to throw around, but at the same time, if need be and you need to whoop some ass, at least you know you got it in you.
Well, when I was at the Longmont Hospital and that officer was fucking assaulting me and they were trying to put them drugs in me, I put my foot, I wedged it in the bed, in the hospital beds, how they have that
Yeah.
arm thing. Yeah, I wedged my foot in that so that I wouldn't accidentally punt that fucking cop across the room. Like, I
I think
am
you
aware
should
of
have
it.
punched the cop across the room. Because, if they were already claiming to be in fear for their lives to the point that they have to use, like, pretty hardcore force on somebody, half of their size,
I am
if
pretty
they're going to
small.
tag you with it anyway, you might as well have done it.
Yeah, you're not the first person to tell me that. A lot of people were like, if you knew that those cops were gonna pull that bullshit and fucking charge you with assaulting a cop, you should have just kicked him in the face. I'm like, I'm not like that. Not unless you put fucking drugs in me. Oh my god, those people are fucking stupid. I'm like, don't put drugs in me. Do not put drugs in me. You will not like me when I'm angry.
Right?
Like with all those school shootings going on and the number of them that involve people who are on those medications, and I'm like, guys, I'm telling you that I'm one of those people who goes psycho if you inject me with drugs. Don't do it.
But see, the thing is they're not trained to listen. They're trained to follow protocol. And protocol mandates that if somebody is being aggressive and or somebody's being the least bit unpleasant, that it's okay to drug them to subdue them. That's the only thing that they really have going for them as far as defense. Aside from the cops and the security guards, some of the thicker orderlies or whatever you want to call them these days.
Yeah, Brit's not happy with protocols like that either. She really doesn't like the M1 hold. Now, don't get me wrong, there's situations where the M1 hold, I guess, has a place. But really, if you're using that to not do your job, then you're not doing your job. And I think she's kind of the same way about that. I don't think she has any respect for that M1 hold. I think she sees right through it and for what it is.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It takes a pretty decent stretch of the imagination to not get the point of that.
When somebody is suicidal, there's a reason. When somebody is telling you that there is a problem, then you should probably try to do something about that problem. If
The
that problem
protocol
is
says that they're not permitted to come into contact. I've worked with some of the AUS security guards, like on some of the other, like when I was working at Flatiron, when I was going to the Flatiron, one of the security guards there was orderly, and then same here at Seagate. One of my coworkers here that I work with on a frequent basis used to be an orderly.
that's the thing, is that they shouldn't have had any physical contact. When I was suicidal because at every point in time that I tried to get help before Natalie was killed, every time that I went to the cops, they treated me like shit. They either put me on an M1 hold, like they did in Nebraska, or they blew me off, told me shit like, you need to just man up. I'm like, excuse me? Are you going to tell a female that? You sexist pig.
That is a sexist thing to say. That's sexist.
And
Like,
also,
I don't believe in manning up or taking it like a man. It's like, are you saying I need to take it in the ass? Because it's really, aside from the mouth, the only place a man can take it.
right?
And so I don't like taking shit in the ass. That's an exit only, homie. For me, anyway. I'm not low by any means. But at the same time, even then, I'm sure Bo doesn't like taking it in the ass in that respect.
Well, there's a lot I could say about that, but I don't really have the mental capacity to do so at the moment. You know,
Excuse me. Okay.
something a lot of people don't realize is that, like, almost the whole time I was homeless, I had a job, you know? And I liked working. I liked physical labor. When I worked for Saeed doing the yard work, I loved that, you know? I was trained to do that. I knew how to do it properly. I was fast at it. When I worked at Stone Lighting, I wasn't good at everything there, but when it came to the manual labor stuff, fuck yes, you're not going to find somebody in that building who can outwork me. Not till I hurt my back, and that's why I lost that job. I guess that's on a side note. But yeah,
Yeah.
with the M1 hold, the problem with that is that it's the police who are busy putting me on that. And the police should have been doing their jobs, recognizing that there was an issue and taking a fucking police report, not using an M1 hold as an excuse not to do their jobs. If somebody is going through that, like, Crystal Bocom.
No.
All right, well, she was a little after your time. She was always a little bit, on the crazy side, but she was always pleasant. And we're not talking crazy like schizophrenic. We're talking crazy like, yeah, dude, you better get the fuck away from me. And she wasn't like that with me. Not until I helped her out a couple times while she was drunk and she was pissed off that she didn't get laid. And I understand psychologically what's going through her head at that point. Because, like, she's being rejected. That's how it is in her mind, is that she's being rejected. And then for 2 weeks, she'd be completely shitty to me. And then she'd be pleasant for a bit more, you know? But what made her go crazy was that she was raped by a Boulder police officer. And when she went to turn the officer in, she was out of her mind by that point because she had been trying to tell people what was going on and they wouldn't listen. So she was fucking hysterical by the time they ran into her. They heard her say the word, "a cop raped me," and they're like, all right, well, she's crazy. And boom, she's in a nuthatch getting a chemical restraint. And that's the thing, is that they should not have ever done that to her. When I was in the Longmont Hospital, those officers assured me that when we got to the hospital that somebody would take my report. And then they all left, you know? I mean, literally, every time that I went and talked to a police officer, I had my bag of evidence with me. Every time that I went to your place, I had that bag of evidence with me. Every time I went to the hospital, I had that bag of evidence with me. Like, I couldn't get anybody to take a look at what was in there. And it's not like, all right, with you, for example, you have kids, you have a job, you don't hardly get any sleep, you know? Like, you have a valid reason for not looking at all the shit that was in that bag. But the police get paid to do that. That is their job. The orderlies, they basically just follow whatever the cops say. And now, did you see that thing in the paper last year about how they're not accepting anybody in any of the mental hospitals except for the ones who were in the criminal justice system? Like, whoa, what the fuck? When they say that that Lopez guy should have called somebody knowing that Natalie was suicidal. No, absolutely not. I fully support her decision to die. Because this is hell. Nobody should have to go through this. And Natalie and I were both in the system. Both of us know how fucked up that shit is. Both of us tried to avoid that. What people aren't getting when they say, hey, Sean, you pushed her to fucking do that. I'm like, no, I was pushed to do that. I was begging people to do exactly what it is that she begged to do, but she didn't have to beg 400 people who all gave her pretty words. She got a random stranger to do it because instead of begging people to kill her on Facebook, she begged them to do it on fucking Craigslist. That was a short rant. I don't know. I guess the whole thing that the whole thing I like about Brit. Don't die.
Sorry, Sean.
You're good. I think the thing that I like the most about Brit is that she sees right through shit like that, you know? Like that M1 hold thing is bullshit. Those officers should have taken my report. They should have recognized that there was a problem. And, you know, the Boulder police, they recognized there was a problem. They went out of their way to sidestep it because they wanted to lock me up. That's what they were specifically intending on doing. And, you know, that's the thing that pisses me off is that they had a plan when they came and found me. And lolotai wanted to take his aggression out on somebody. You know, there are actually multiple people who have come out with, you know, reports about him assaulting them and videos now. He was let go from Denver because he assaulted an inmate. Straight up fucking waylaid his ass on a set of stairs. Could have fucking severely injured that dude. That's why he ended up in Boulder.
I think there needs to be a type of blacklist for these types of police.
Right? But
if they get kicked out for shit like that, they can't just hop jurisdictions and continuously have employment. Like, they need to be blacklisted. Do not hire these fucks.
All right, you remember when you were telling me he didn't have they took his gun and his taser away?
Yes.
So what all did he tell you about that?
Honestly, I can't fucking remember for the life of me. Because there was a lot going on at that time. They took his gun away. Fuck, why did they take his gun away? I don't remember, but I remember talking to him about it because he had a partner that day. And he usually never has a partner. You know, he's like a pretty decently sized guy on his own, you know?
Right, and he is a very big man.
He's a large dude, you know? Like, it doesn't matter how you cut the cookie, you can't get around that. You know, and like 9 out of 10 times he's by himself. And he admitted to me that the reason why he has a partner is because they took his gun away. And his partner has a gun.
Yep.
So, did I tell you about Martin dying?
No.
That was a fucking crazy ass ordeal. So, I don't know if you know this, but I don't get along with my dad. He's a piece of shit. He's always been a piece of shit. He tries to justify it, and it's bullshit. And he knows it, but I'm the bad guy somehow. So, fast forwarding, this last December, I was getting my ass reamed out by my boss. And I was like, come on, dude, my dad just died recently. You know, like, I don't need you up my ass and down my throat. Just let me fucking do my thing. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't do anything wrong. I just did something you didn't like. You know, just fucking get over it. I got my own shit on my plate, pretty much. And my partner Sid heard me. Well, when I told Eric that my dad died, my dad didn't die. He's still alive. Oh, sorry, that's better. But I told Eric that Martin died. So Sid hears me tell Eric that Martin died, and him and Winters and Tabikoff got together, and they bought me a plane ticket, a round-trip ticket to Vegas for 3 days. And because I work with Sid and I work with Winters, they correlated it with my schedule, so I can go down to my father. And they even went out of their way to purchase a fucking carry-on. And I told them, I can't accept this ticket because there's no way I could pay you back. And I was in the process of trying to tell them that, you know, Martin's not really dead. I just said that he was. But before I could even get anything out, like, fucking these grown-ass men were like, I've had problems with my father. And then they started, like, dumping on me their daddy issues and insisting that I go to Vegas. Well, word got back to Lolotai because the people that I work with over at 29th Street are fucking retarded. You know, I don't know how else to put that, but they're fucking retarded. So, like, well, no, Sid is not retarded, he just misunderstands English. And William is not really retarded, he just doesn't fucking listen for shit. You know, and he always relays, like, bad information. So long story short, they think that I'm like some poor single mother with 2 kids struggling to get by. And they fucking, they got me a ticket because my dad died. Well, anyway, word got back to Lolotai that the father of a poor single mother just died in Las Vegas and whatnot. And I had to do a police report that night, because that was the night that I got pushed by the boss. Well, anyway, long story short, Lolotai removed his body cam, and he gave me a hug.
Aw, there's some human in him.
That's what I'm trying to say, is that he might be a monster, but he's not beyond hope, you know? I just hope that he'll make the right decision and not work in law enforcement anymore. You know?
Right.
That's like the best we can do. Or, you know, maybe he'll find out that he does have a human side to him after all, and he just needs to tap into it better.
See, now that's the important thing right there, is that he needs to have some anger management classes, and he needs to not be in law enforcement. I mean, there's a lot of people who do fucked up shit that are still human inside somewhere. And people refuse to see the fact that I'm a human being through and through. Like the things that I did for people, I didn't do because I was getting paid to do them. And I didn't abuse my power in order to go do bad shit, you know? I went out of my way to be a decent person to everyone for years and years. When I hurt my back, I wasn't able to do those things, and people basically just forgot about me. Now, when it comes to Lolotai, like, the thing is that this guy, a lot of people in law enforcement, they'll be one way towards somebody who's in a house and a completely different way towards somebody who's homeless. They just assume that because you're homeless, that you need to be victimized into not being homeless. But then, because of that victimization, they remove your chances, opportunities, and financial ability to get unhomeless. Meanwhile, you got people who are telling you that it's one way and it's another, and you really need to investigate it before making a decision, but they didn't investigate. No police officer, before or after Natalie died, bothered to try to do any investigating. They just assumed that these people were right. Lolotai is one of them. Like, by the time that I encountered Lolotai, his coworkers had been harassing me for a week straight. You know? Like, there were situations where, with the Boulder police, I got to see their humanity. Even officers that I didn't like. I've never seen Officer Steinman's humanity, but I've gotten to hear about it. I've had people tell me, you know, Officer Steinman was always treated me with respect. And, you know, each and every one of those...
Steinman confiscated a burrito for me.
Confiscated a burrito for you?
Yeah.
See, and this is a guy who beats up homeless people for a living.
That was the guy that killed Ashley.
No, he just brags about killing Ashley to the people that know him. He does that to grope our goats because we're homeless and he can get away with it. He wants us to say something back to him so he can arrest us for use of fighting words. He's not the one that killed Ashley. That's the thing, is that Officer Steinman is a bully. He tries to goat us by use of fighting words so that he can charge us with use of fighting words.
Sean, I don't mean to cut you off, but I'm like 5 minutes late from lunch.
Alright, I love you, Miss Peaches. Be safe.
I love you too. You be safe, and we'll talk to you later.
Yes, ma'am.
Love you, bye.
Love you, bye. humanity. It's an important thing to note. So there, Miss Peaches told a good story about two of the biggest predators towards the homeless in Boulder. She's also a mother who lives in a house. And she's female. Now, I knew Miss Peaches when she was out on the streets. Mostly just hanging out. Just like Haley Smith. Just like Natalie Bollinger. Just like Alicia Bollinger. Now, their situations are all completely different. Like Maddie Boa, shit, she was one of them underage kids that I always tried to scare off. Because she shouldn't be down there hanging out with those people. Myself included. There's a lot of people who knew me when they were underage because they hung out in the same area and I was an asshole to them. I didn't want them hanging out with those people, especially the crowd that they picked, because most of those kids picked the druggies. They wanted to hang out with the people who had the drugs. And here's how it worked. The little girls would show up wanting attention that they're not getting at home, wanting acceptance that they're not getting at home, and then they get it down on the streets by people who are street kids that they're technically adults. Legally, they're adults. But they're still street kids. They're still very young. And so there's people like Natalie who are attracted to that. But then there's people who are in love with Natalie because she's very pretty. So then those boys show up and they got all of that testosterone going on. And then we, as the homeless community, have to deal with that over them wanting to hang out with specific members of the homeless community. Now, there's different types of people in the homeless community. You've got your home bums who have made Boulder their home. They pick up garbage. They try to be a productive member of the society that's there. And they try to show that they're trying. And then you've got the travelers that come through. And the travelers, for them, it's about trying to get laid with the local girls. And we encountered that in Chapel, Nebraska, too. But it's a different type of traveler. See, them Midwest farmers' daughters, they can't really go around getting, laid and whatnot in town because everybody might hear about it. So they have sex with harvesters. And most of these girls are underage. And most of these harvesters are not underage. And it just creates a big issue. Then you end up with high school girls who are trying to find a boyfriend who will have sex with them on the first date because they just found out they're pregnant. Yes, that happens in Nebraska too. But that's something to be said, There is humanity in all of these people. All of them. That doesn't mean that we should excuse the things that they're doing that are illegal and immoral. Like Officer Steinman, I've been there when he's showed up to a house call. He doesn't talk to people in houses the same way that he talks to me. He doesn't talk to people in houses the way that he talks to the homeless people. The homeless people aren't treated like human beings by him. He doesn't consider them human beings. He's a Nazi to the homeless people. But if you're not homeless, he knows that he can be sued. Now, as far as Lolotai giving Miss Peaches a hug over something that didn't actually happen, that's just the funniest part of the story. Lolotai gave her a hug. Does that excuse the fact that he abuses homeless people? Does it excuse the fact that he physically harms people because he gets off on it? No, it doesn't excuse that. When I do things to people that they do to me, they don't like it. Like Amanda, after a year almost, of being a complete and total piece of shit to me. We could have had an adult conversation while I was there. And me and Amanda did have adult conversations while I was there. We had 2 of them. Me and Miss Jerry sort of had a human conversation in the elevator in between her talking to her boyfriend. But what I was doing at the time was explaining to her that everybody's on their fucking phones all the time. Even when I'm there in person, they're on their phone the whole time. And then they only catch 1/10 of what I've said because they're busy trying to figure out what to text next to somebody. They get that tunnel vision. Is Lolotai a bad person? Yes, he is. Even knowing that he gave Miss Peaches a hug, yes, Lolotai is a bad person. For somebody to abuse their power in that way towards so many people is wrong. Now, I'll admit, there are a lot of people in the homeless community who are on drugs. But there are a lot of people in houses who are on drugs. Andrew Witcher is addicted to methamphetamines. His wife and his kids have to deal with that. Now, after me being there, I'm sure he is scared shitless to touch his daughter again. Stepdaughter, sorry. But there's a lot of these people who have known me for years and years and years and years. And when they didn't get their way, they treated me like shit. That's the point. It really is. Like, when I was at Lana and Amanda's, I needed them to listen to me. Now, unlike Miss Peaches, they had plenty of time to do so. I mean, Lana spends most of her time listening to that radio dude, Dutch, about the fucking earthquakes. Now, for me, complaining about Amanda being, with the Game of Thrones thing for an hour and a half a night, even though it was longer than that, that's nothing in comparison with the amount of time that Lana spends on her stuff, where she is stuck in that loop. But it's okay for her. It's not okay for me. It's okay for her to snap at me. It's not okay for me. So I took it, like I always do. But the situation before was that we all lived in Chapel. If Lana was getting like that, I could leave. I had somewhere that I could go. When I was at Lana's last time, in Montana, she's miles out in the country. There's nowhere for me to fucking go. When she was snapping at me, like, because I was pacing, Sean, you need to sit down, or you need to go fucking smoke a bowl. Well, shit, Lana, thank you. That is very kind of you. The minuscule amount that they had up there was not a minuscule amount. It was a massive quantity of marijuana. And it seemed like it was never ending. Like, Amanda doesn't smoke all day, every day, nonstop. Her mom does. However, neither one of them smokes as much as Leah Plunkett. That woman is a nonstop smoker. She also has back problems and she has psychological issues. The trauma from losing her daughter, and Ken losing all of his children over that. I mean, literally, they had to walk over the stain that used to be their sister in order to go to school. Ken knows that his ex is a meth fucking head. But at the same time, he busts his ass overtime. He busts his ass as much as he can so that he can guarantee that his child support is paid. He was good to his fucking kids. Now, Gabriel, that's their son, he ends up taking the brunt of most of that. He's the only kid in the house now. He's autistic. He's suicidal often because of the way that they treat him, but they don't treat him like a human being. They don't recognize that the way that they are treating him is different than they treat the other kids. But he sees it. He notices it. He feels it. And the other kids aren't there. So for me, when they stole all of my money, I was conflicted, just like with most situations. I want to believe the best in people because they're human. But at the same time, when they're desperate, they do desperate things, like Ken and Leah stealing my money. I was desperate too, because I couldn't get the police to do their fucking jobs. I couldn't get past people's assumed guilt. They assumed I was guilty of fucking killing somebody. And I didn't. Matter of fact, if the cops had done their jobs, none of that would have happened. If Natalie had been willing at any point since I left Virginia to have a human conversation with me, to pretend I was human, all of this could have been avoided. Then again, she knew I was human. Her and her sister both did. The things that I had to go through weren't over things that I did. They were over other people's assumptions and unwilling to do their jobs over those assumptions. On January 6th, I'd already been harassed by the border police for over a week. Not over a week, I can't say that, because the harassment by the border police didn't start until January 1st. But by that point, I had already dealt with and had enough encounters with the police that I was just sick of fucking seeing them. When Natalie got a hold of me on the 15th of December of 2017, and she wanted to meet up, I was so fucking ecstatic. At the same time, I'm scared shitless of Natalie and Alicia at that point. I have been harassed, threatened, and assaulted on multiple occasions just because people had it in their head that I might do these things to people. Oh, well, he's the ugly one. He looks like a chimo, so he must be. He's not pretty, so he must have to rape people to get laid. It must all be about sex because he's ugly. We should beat him up. Like, no. No, you shouldn't. Now, the thing is, it's not what people did out of desperation that makes them evil people. It's when they try to cover it up. Like what Lana and Amanda did. They fucked up. When I fucked up, I admitted it. But there's also reasons that I thought the things that I thought. And part of those reasons were people like Karamia. And it turns out of all of those situations where somebody was fucking leaking shit, the only person who was in contact through all of that was Karamia. The only one. That situation that involved them releasing my information about me going to South Dakota. Yeah, Karamia was part of that group. The Facebook that I made while I was trapped in fucking Denver because I didn't have any money. Karamia was part of that group. I wanted to believe the best in Karamia, but she was a fucking bullshitter, just like Kara Johnson. Hell, they might even be the same person for all I know. I got no fucking clue. But they assumed my guilt, and they started playing head games and doing everything in their power to make sure that my words didn't get out. Only the Bollingers get to speak. Only the police get to speak. Only the Bollingers get to show evidence. Only the police get to show evidence. The Bollingers can do whatever they want across jurisdictions. The police can do whatever they want across jurisdictions. Meanwhile, I can't get my own public pretenders to get evidence that's in that jurisdiction. I let my public pretenders know that just a few minutes earlier in that video, that it shows what them fucking people in Clearview did to me. Now, a lot of people tried telling the folks in this group that I was human, and a lot of those people who were trying to explain to the folks in these groups that I was human are no longer my friends. They blocked me. Why did they block me? Because I was streaming on Facebook. Panic attacks are scary. The longer it goes, the worse that panic attack is. The longer that issue continues, the worse that panic attack is. The louder those people are going to be, and the more scared people are. And people do desperate things and very mean things when they're scared. Like with Ken and Leah. Being scared that they were going to get in trouble for stealing all my money. I get that. I really do. With Lana and Amanda, their fears aren't even close to legit. Like, you look at those messages between Tim Beeson and Natalie Bollinger, it's pretty obvious that I'm not going to tie her up in a fucking basement. I don't have a basement. I live in Ken and Leah's garage. They don't have a basement in their house. But with Ken and Leah stealing my money and me trying to see the humanity in them, yeah, I needed help. I needed a lawyer. I needed an arbiter. And I needed protected from people who do those things because they can get away with it just by calling me mentally ill. My case manager for that was supposed to be a woman named Kara Heller. She did a piss poor fucking job. Before Natalie was killed, she was able to give me rides to my appointments. After Natalie was killed, she wouldn't even come and talk to me without somebody else present. When I was on the 16th Street Mall, see, I was dropped off where I was supposed to go. Miles away from my own money, though. I didn't have any money to go anywhere, and people were like, you should take the bus. I don't have money for the bus. So they finally showed up. They had some paperwork to fill out. We're on the fucking mall, the 16th Street Mall in Denver. We're filling out this fucking paperwork there. And they're telling me that we can go back to, what's it called? God, I'm sorry. It's fucking first thing in the morning. But they, realized that that place is closing. We're not going to get there in time for me to get bus tickets. Like, literally, that's what I needed, is fucking bus tickets. I needed to be able to travel. And people like, you should just take the bus. Shit, I was trying. So, they had this paperwork that they wanted me to fill out, and I filled it out. But that's the thing. She came down with Jeff Ritter, and they walked to the mall, by the way. And I'm like, I don't even know how to get back to that place. Could you guys help me with that? So they gave me directions to get back to the place that I was supposed to be going to. Some sort of fucking clinic place for the homeless. Colorado Coalition for the Homeless is who Jeff Ritter works for. And Jeff Ritter, I was introduced to him through a woman named Nicole Jarrell, who is my therapist. But she also works with battered women. So, having me speak her name could lose her her job. So, I'm having to worry about all of these other people because I do see them as human. But they're not coming out where they need to, which is in the courts and to the police. And I'm fucking stranded there. I mean, literally, I'm screaming at people on the phone because I'm having a severe fucking panic attack. I'm scared fucking shitless. And when the situation changed, people just wanted to assume that I was going to be like that. No. Lana and Amanda's house was a lot quieter an environment. There's no buses driving by. There's no people screaming and shouting. There's none of that, you know? But at the same time, Lana is snapping at me every morning after the second night there. I mean, she is fucking pissed off, just like Crystal Beauchamp was. And Crystal Beauchamp was pissed off because I wouldn't kiss her. I walked her to the threshold of her house 3 different times. And all 3 times resulted in at least 2 weeks of her being an asshole. Actually, 2 of those times it resulted in her ignoring me entirely for a couple of weeks, then showing up and being an asshole. Now, when I encountered some guys trying to shove her in the back of a vehicle while she was too drunk to walk, that was the last fucking straw. That was also the last time that I walked Crystal home. Because just shortly after that was when the Boulder police got sick and tired of her antics. This is after quite a while of her screaming about how she had been raped by a Boulder police officer. Now, when she wanted to kiss me, she still had puke on her chin, you know? And she's drunk. A gentleman does not take a woman home when she's drunk and past the threshold. Absolutely not. Now, when it got to the point where I wasn't allowed to be a gentleman anymore because of rumors that were started by the Bollingers and Matty Boa, yeah, something needed to be done about that. I mean, it didn't just separate me from 1 or 2 people. It separated me from everyone who brought joy to my life. Everyone who brought happiness to my life. I liked making jokes. I liked making people feel better, and I was very good at it. By the way, I made 2 videos of almost everything. I made the video where I assumed that somebody was evil, and I made the video where I assumed that people were human. The 2 videos that I made about Ken and Leah about that right before I left their place, they're still up. They're still up. People can still see those videos. But the point to it, the reason that I do that, is because I'm frustrated because I am feeling completely fucked. I have been completely fucked. Whether you did it out of desperation and you're still human, or you did it to be mean and vindictive, doesn't matter because you still did it. The outcome is the same. And Ken and Leah, what it is that makes them evil is the fact that they're not willing to come forward about it and explain the human factor. That's the case with most people. They didn't want to explain that they were too broke. Things like that. It's ludicrous.